So, I am sitting here, sans makeup. For anybody who knows me, I don't do that very often. At 2 o'clock in the morning, about to record, well, I don't know if I'm going to call it a rant or what, but it's going to do with my being trans and gatekeeping. So, I got really excited recently. Some of you may have seen the post, but I found out through, TikTok. So, yes, I will continue to look into it more and talk to those who have more information, who will be giving me the hormones and everything of that nature. Anyway, so anyone who knows me knows I am a pretty androgynous boy. Anyone who knows me knows I do not like body hair. Especially for me, I can do a little bit, but so I originally came out, oh God, I want to say like 10 years ago, and it's a little bit of a confession thing because of what happened tonight, but trying to keep this on track as much as I possibly can. So, when I first came out, actually, no, let's just say I came out 10 years ago. And when I first came out, I didn't know about being non-binary. I didn't know it was a thing. And while I could find other trans men, and luckily none of them were like super toxic masculinity type, they all wanted the more masculine shebang, if you will. And even back then, like, that's not what I wanted. So I never felt like it really belonged either. Because I'm over here, I liked being feminine. I liked my heels. I didn't do makeup too much back then. But I liked my heels. I liked my skirts. I had long hair back then, and originally I planned on keeping it. As you can see, I don't have any more, and I love my short hair. I don't want to go back to long hair. But at the time, I identified more toward what I would love to dress like an 18th century nobleman, like from England or France. Very Rococo kind of thing, especially with the hair. Anyway, so because of that, like, I had been going back and forth for a longest time on whether I even want to do tea. Because I'm like, I don't want all the effects. And I'm like, but I keep getting misgendered. And so I wanted the lower voice. I wanted the fat redistribution, the easier ability to gain muscle. Even back then, I didn't want the body hair. I didn't know if I wanted growth at that time, but was something I was still figuring out. Anyway, So, needless to say, I still haven't started yet because for this many years, I kept going back and forth. Like, I want to start it. But then I ended up not starting it because I kept looking at the adverse effects I didn't want. I decided I don't want to do it, especially things like that. And I have decided I'm going to go ahead and do it, hopefully sometime soon. But anyway, so I came across this thing on TikTok where apparently you can take blockers with your testosterone shot. So while it'll stop, so you won't get the lower growth, you won't get the body hair, the male pattern baldness. It'll stop the things like that, apparently. But you'll still get the lower voice, you'll still get the fat redistribution, the easier muscle gain, and things like that. And I only recently found that. So I posted this post saying, like, oh my god, this is so amazing. Like, the fact that, like, this came across for me, and the fact that, like, again, 10 years I haven't started anything because of this back and forth fear. But I'm not happy where I'm at now. But there was still also the fear. Well, anyway, this little gatekeeper decides to go on my post. And I barely know them. And yes, they are also non-binary masculine. So you think they would understand. But no, I shouldn't go on tea if I don't want the whole package. Not just, oh, you should be knowingly realize, like, you might get some ill effects and everything like that. No, I just shouldn't. The point of being trans is to pass. No. There is not one single way for you to be fucking trans. I don't like the thought of being super masculine. I like the thought of people passing me by and not knowing my gender. Or if they do guess, it's going to be more masculine most of the time. But it's one of those, I am that pretty androgynous boy. But yes, I get ma'amed and missed and she and heard so many times a day. It's not even funny. It's so rare that I ever get called he even before I open my mouth. So yes, that is a major reason I want to start tea. But again, point you back to that back and forth fear of mine. And this person continues in this thread, again saying, like, I shouldn't even start tea if I don't want the whole effect. I should just go on steroids. Which, I looked up this information. From what I can tell, they're the same thing. Of course, they blocked me before I could say anything in regards to that. So if they're talking about some other steroid, but I just did a very, very basic Google search. Research, not my huge forte. But the fact that they told me I just basically should not transition. And they go on like, oh, I get called a woman all the time. This is and then people go on T for this, and that's why like I get called a woman all the time, blah 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 blah, because people don't want to fully transition. Fuck you. Fuck you. Look, just because I want to be androgynous and people question my gender does not make me any less of a man. Just because I don't like the thought of body hair does not make me less of a man. And again, you know what else doesn't make me less of a man? My makeup, my heels, the fact that I love the color fucking pink. You know what? I could also still be a guy. If I decided I didn't want to do any surgery, say I don't want to ever get top surgery. I mean, I do, but that's besides the point. If I didn't, I'm still a guy. And I love that I have so many people in the LGBT queer community that are more accepting now. But obviously there's still these little fucks out there. And it just made me think back to, again, when I first came out. Because again, as I said, I still liked my feminine things when I came out. Yes, I still loved my suits, but I used to wear pencil skirts all the time. I never do anymore. I used to wear my mini skirts too. I don't anymore. I used to have long hair. I used to still have let my tits out from time to time. I would have the cleavage out because I felt cute, but that didn't make me less of a guy. I still wanted to remove it at some point, but I'm just like, I like this shirt. It makes me feel nice. It makes me feel pretty. And I remember coming out. And I remember so many of my so-called friends at the time saying that I wasn't really trans, that I wasn't really a guy, because I still did those things. That if I really wanted to be seen as a guy, that I needed to cover up more, that I should cut my hair, that I need to stop wearing skirts and heels. I had a few say it in my face. I know many said it behind my back. And I know this because I had the most amazing friend back then. We're still super duper close friends. And honestly, they're the only reason I am where I am now. I'm sorry. Because they would go and what's the word I'm looking for? Defend me to these people who would say things to me. And behind they've told me, like, I'm not gonna name any names in here, but they told me that some of the stuff that people have said behind my back, that because I'm like, obviously I knew that kind of stuff was getting said because I had a few people say it to me, and I had actually witnessed them go off on people before too. I remember one time we were at a party, and one of our mutual friends, like I said, we said something about like I'm actually a boy, and they made a comment like, no, I'm not, and they did think it was a joke at the time. They did apologize that night when they realized how badly they had fucked up. But I remember, still to this point, to this day, and this is 10 years ago, I still remember to this day, middle of the party, and it was at our house, luckily, but I ended up hiding into my room and crying my eyes out because of all the buildup, and this was just the very last straw, and I finally broke. And to be honest, I almost just stopped my journey right then and there. And if I hadn't had that amazing friend in my life, I would have, because I would have felt like I had no support. Because I just wasn't trans enough. It's not something I talk about a lot. I can tell you right now, most of those people, they are really supportive of our trans friends now. But either they don't remember how shitty they were to me, or they like to pretend they weren't. And I know a few who have come forth and apologized beforehand. And there's been a few people who said, like, I was in a bad place, I was taking it out on you, but it's not an excuse. And I super appreciate it. I really, really do, because it's like, yeah, it's not an excuse, but like, we're growing. You grew, I'm growing. God knows I wasn't a great person back then either. And I did not expect this to be so long. I'm coming up on 20 minutes already. And I don't know, maybe I'll talk about it more in shorter type of videos. The only thing I hate the fact that I had to go through that, but like, the one thing I am happy about is the fact that because I went through that, our other friends didn't have to go through it as much. They might have had to go through it with other people, but not with our group of friends, and they still at least had some support. But I guess circling back to everything. But yes, please tell me that I am not trans enough, because I hadn't heard it for goddamn fucking decade. Take your goddamn gatekeeping bullshit and you refuse to listen to anyone. And yes, I do plan on posting their little replies if you don't see them. I have a few drag and cosplay friends who ought to know. But I don't know. I might post more videos just talking about my thoughts and feelings of how I transition, because again, I really don't talk about it much. But I guess they brought it out tonight. And I want everyone on here to know you are beautiful, you are handsome, you are gorgeous, you are whatever goddamn wonderful word you want to use. But most of all, you are valid. And don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. Whether you are a trans man, whether you are a masculine trans woman, whether you're non-binary, who's not androgynous, you are amazing fucking creatures. And I love you for it. And with that, I am going to say goodnight.